I don't know if TikTok is ending, but I'm gonna be messy and go ahead and share the story of how I'm supposed to be driving to Philadelphia literally right fucking now, but I'm not because I found out the guy that I'm dating and was supposed to be meeting up with has a live-in girlfriend of 5 fucking years. If you followed me for any amount of time, you would know that I am a certified crash out. I have never been one to heal in silence. I've always been one to tweet through it, or in this case, TikTok through it. I'm always gonna process exactly how I'm feeling out loud. There's, again, no shame in that. What's shameful is what the fuck you did, Montez. Let's start with how he and I started. Because I don't give a fuck, and like I said, I'm so tired of men just not being held accountable. His name on here is Becoming a Psychologist, and on Twitter and Instagram, it's Joe Sweatpants. And again, his name is Montez, so fuck you, Montez. Anyway, we started out because I posted a picture, a selfie on Twitter, and because I'm so gorgeous, I got a lot of followers and just people that were kind of like hitting me up off of that selfie, and he was one of them. He messaged me on Twitter and said something like the initial conversation that we had didn't really go anywhere, and then a few days later he messaged me on Instagram. I want to say this was like right before Thanksgiving was his very first message to me on Twitter, and then right after Thanksgiving was his second message to me on Instagram. The conversation that we had on Instagram like stuck. It kind of went somewhere, and well, it went everywhere. From there, we never stopped talking. We decided to like exchange numbers, and he asked me to call him. I remember I was driving home from my parents' house that day, so I called him like while I was in the car driving home, and then the second I got home, I FaceTimed him. I am a very delusional lover girl. Literally, my name on Twitter is Lover Girl Kenny. But at the same time, as you know, delusional and crazy as I am, I don't like to assume that every single guy that hits me up is like on some romantic shit. Like, I like to kind of feel it out first, and I had thought it was, but it was confirmed to me during our first FaceTime call when I got on the screen and he was like, wow, you're real life gorgeous. Like, you're not just, it's not just like on Twitter. So I was like, okay, this is like what I thought it was. There's something here, basically. Every day after that, we talked, texted, and FaceTimed like heavy. Every single day, all day. We talked about taking trips together. We wanted to go to Canada and Philly and Michigan, like all these different places just all across the nation. I had just started a new job, maybe like a month and a half, 2 months prior to he and I connecting. So I didn't have leave yet. Like, I was still within my 90 days at work and I didn't have leave yet. So I didn't want to commit to taking a trip, but I was like, in the future, once I figure it out, yes, like I'm down. So that was kind of like in the balance, and we were talking about it, but we hadn't set anything up yet. But we still continued talking, like I said, FaceTiming, calling, texting all day, every day, up until early December when, like, through the time that I took a business trip for work. I was literally texting him like the whole road trip. I was talking to my coworker about him and kind of saying like, there's this new guy in my life. I called him to let him know I was going out to dinner, texted him throughout dinner pictures of the food I got back home to the hotel, and FaceTimed him. Like, we were talking about all the things that like you talk about when you're meeting someone new and trying to get to know someone new. Like, this wasn't just, it wasn't just sexual. It wasn't just like light stuff. Like, we were talking, and he handled me with so much care. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. He's studying to become a therapist, as his out on here would suggest. And he was so sensitive with me and so caring, and so he just handled me with care. Like, I really enjoyed talking to him. It was such a delight, and I always looked forward to it. I can't stress this enough. It was fully understood that we were talking as though we were interested in being with one another. We wanted to get to know each other on a deeper level. I mentioned a second ago that it was all until I got home from like the work trip that I went on, and that was because we got into an argument the second I got home. The work trip was exhausting. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work, a lot of being on the go, paired with being inebriated. So on the day that I traveled back from work, I got home and I like had to go pick up my puppy. I had just like a lot of stuff to do. I finally got home and I was just exhausted, but he was like pressuring me to FaceTime him because I don't think we got to FaceTime that day because I had been like on the road. So he was pressuring me to FaceTime him. I was like, I really want to have energy for you. Like, I'm not gonna be fun to talk to if I talk to you like right now because I'm so tired. So he was like, okay, take your nap. I took a nap and I thought I was gonna wake up, but I ended up not. I just slept through the night up until like through the next morning. So I texted him and I was like, I'm so sorry. I was so tired. I just ended up falling asleep. Like, I'm sorry. I could tell he was disappointed because he had texted me saying like, that's enough sleep or whatever, and something else. So I knew he was kind of like annoyed that I had fallen asleep, but it wasn't that big of a deal to me. Like I was literally telling you all day, I'm so tired, but I can't wait to talk to you. Like it was just a mistake and not something that I think someone should be upset about. I feel like you would be kind of understanding of that. But he texted me back and said something just so dry, like so dry and so emotionless, and it triggered me. It was just so unlike him because, like I said, he handled me with so much care. And in relationships that I've had in the past, I don't like being treated like I'm being punished for doing something wrong. Like if there's something that you don't like me doing, say it. Don't withdraw emotion, if that makes sense. I didn't like it. So I was like, it's early enough, I'm just gonna cut this off. And I didn't even respond. I just ghosted him, which I know is hypocritical from what I just said, but cut my losses, cut him off. And we didn't talk for maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. During that time though, he watched every single story I posted. I muted his. He liked all my selfies. He liked all my tweets. And I was making, you know, special care to avoid all of his, because that's just me. I think I literally tweeted during that time frame, like my husband would never, because I just didn't think that like he was the guy for me, and that I'm realizing now is my intuition. I wish I would have listened to her, good Lord. But I was ready to be done with him is basically how it felt. One day though, this was probably like a week, not even a week, less than a week before Christmas. So he messages me and he was like, are you good? This was on Instagram. And I was like, yep, nigga, like, yeah, I'm fine. Why? What's up? And he was like, you just haven't responded to me or something like that. And I was like, yeah, your last message was so dry that like I didn't even want to entertain it for a second. Why would I? We got into a talk from there. We kind of explained each other's sides and we both understood each other's sides, but we like talked through the issue is basically the root of that conversation. And he was like, I missed you. And I said, I know. I know you missed me. He basically was saying like he liked me so much and he was really disappointed that he didn't get to talk to me. He wished that I had just said what I was feeling at the time instead of ghosting him, because the therapist popped out, like, you talk through things. You're supposed to fix things and not just run away from them. But from there, we kind of rekindled things. We kissed and made up, and we were right back to talking heavy like we had been the weeks prior. FaceTimes, calls, texts all day long, all over again, right? Like nothing had lapsed. We continued that pattern every single day, minus like maybe 1 or 2 days where I caught an attitude with him on like New Year's and I just didn't want to talk to him. But on New Year's Day, we rekindled, and he FaceTimed me that morning actually. So like everything was good from there. He was literally like, I can't stay mad at you once he saw me. Yeah, like things were just fine after that. Really started to like kind of get to know each other and grow to like each other. I really cannot explain to you how much time and effort this man poured into me. Since some of my past relationships, I've been very, very avoidant and very quick to cut someone off at like the first hint of something. But he would every single time grab me by the fucking neck and pull me back in. Would always maintain that he wanted to work through problems and like fix things, because that's what you do in a relationship. We had all the conversations that you could think of, like FaceTime dates for hours at a time sometimes. He would call me every single day on his lunch break. I would sit there and I would talk to his coworkers. I would meet all of his friends. I FaceTimed with a few of his friends. His friends would literally be like, he went by the nickname Speech. They'd be like, Speech is a good guy. You gotta, you know, make sure you take care of him. Like he wasn't the one fucking around. But yeah, like after finding out what I found out, like I truly don't understand how this man had enough hours in the day. Nor do I understand how he had an abundance of men, these friends that like were not shit as he was, because I felt so prioritized and like I was becoming part of his life as he was mine. He talked to my coworkers too. What the fuck? Anyway, we were talking about kids, we were talking about marriage, we were talking about how he wanted me to come and like sit in the gym at his basketball place, or sit and watch him play basketball at his gym with all the other wives and baby mamas. He would be annoyed if I took too long to respond to him. He would literally call me if like I hadn't texted back in a quick enough time. He's calling me baby, my baby, honey, my love, my wonderful lady. Like I had all these nicknames. We were talking about our future together, our past traumas, like getting deep. And I was guarded and he knew that, and he actively worked to get me to trust him. There was one time where he told me that he was going on a hike. So I knew he was gonna be kind of like out of pocket that day, but I was expecting him to still wake up and text me good morning like he had every single other day. I didn't hear from that man until 7 p.m. my time. I think he's what, Pacific time? So it's like 3 hours behind, 4 p.m. his time. So I was like, that's annoying, and I was really irritated by it. but I was trying not to be. Coincidentally, that same day, someone had gone through like my media tab on Twitter and liked this picture of, it was like a silhouette of my ass. It's a good picture. I ended up reposting it, and I like shared it to my Instagram story too, and I was like, oldie but goodie or something was like the caption that I put. A little bit after I posted that and he texted me, he responded to my Instagram story and he was like, wow, I literally can't leave you alone even just for a little bit. And I was like, you shouldn't want to. I had been annoyed, and I will admit that like me sharing that photo was probably somewhat vindictive. It was mainly because someone liked the photo and it kind of brought it back up in my memories, but whatever. I had been annoyed because like all day without any sort of communication, not a good morning, not a fuck you, nothing. While like the Instagram messaging was happening, we were simultaneously going back and forth over text. I don't know exactly how this conversation happened. I could go back and look, but he at some point made a joke about how me sharing the photo on my story was worse than the fact that like he had hung out and gone on this hike with like another woman. He knows I'm a crash out, and I did not take kindly to that joke. I lost my mind. I basically told him like, I don't do the multiple women shit. I don't care if we're not officially dating. Like I don't do that. I also told him like, because I hadn't heard from him all day, I was like, we have different communication styles. I know I'm clingy, but I still need like the communication to tell me that you're not going to be able to communicate. And I was like, we have very different communication styles and needs, and you can't meet that for me, so that's fine. I'm done. Basically, I was like, we're good here. He tried calling me and I ignored it. Then he tried texting me being like, call me, like, are you being serious right now? We were arguing. He convinced me to call him, so I did. This is why I keep saying like, I don't know how this man had enough hours in the day. During that call, I was arguing about how I like needed communication. Basically, I was like, I can't do the going all day without hearing from you thing. I was like, even if you're busy that day, check in the morning, say you're gonna talk to me later, and like I'll be fine. I was also saying like, I didn't believe that you were alone on that hike, and he's like, I wasn't alone, I was with a group. And he was like, I was just joking about it being another woman. But he did say, he was like, no one was on their phone, so I didn't feel like I should be on my phone either. And I was like, I get that, but like you still woke up that morning and like were on your phone, and then you left for your hike. I was like, there could have been a text to me somewhere in that. So that's why I'm like a little irritated, just because you went the whole day. You know I don't like the jokes about other women, like that sort of thing. So long story short, we talked through that, and he was kind of like walking me through my emotions like a therapist would. He talked me off the ledge. He was very reassuring. I was like, I know I'm clingy. I know I need clear communication. Otherwise I get really imaginative. But he was so reassuring, and he was like, I'll never miss another good morning. He talked to me through my feelings and was literally like, do you know that you being this upset about this means that like you're starting to catch feelings for me and that you really like me? And he's like, do you know that I really like you too? I kept saying I don't know, because I was like mad and I didn't want to confirm it for him. Basically, that the worst thing I could do is let a man know I like him. I didn't want to agree, but what blows me about this is that he asked me during this conversation, are you afraid of getting hurt? And I said, of course I am. Like, of course I am. And he assured me that he wasn't gonna hurt me. And I said to that, I was like, I just don't know if I can trust you. And when he asked me why, I was like, I don't know. Men just like to lie and waste your time like that. Like, I don't. When I said that, he seemed so offended that I would accuse him of doing something like that. I remember he texted me, I think it was prior to us getting on the phone, like when he convinced me to call him, but he had said like, do you really think I have the time and energy to entertain 4 women? And I was like, I don't know your life. But he was one for semantics. So I'm like, if it wasn't 4, it was definitely at least 2. But whatever. He talked me through that conversation, said he would never miss a good morning, and things were okay after that. I remember vividly that conversation was when I was like, my heart is safe with him. That's when I decided that I could trust him and that I was officially done pushing him away. We were locked in. I was confident that this was going to be my next man, and things were really good after that. From this point on, it was like the same thing. I was talking daily. We were talking about a future, and I decided to... My close friends on Instagram is like, I trust them with my fucking life. Like, I would give them my social security number if they asked for it. I trust them. I decided to share on my close friends that like I had found a guy that I liked. This is after like a month of it, at least a month of us talking. I hate that I'm like upset about a man that's fucked up. But yeah, I overshared to my close friends a lot. I told them about him, and they were all asking questions and like whatever. I was like super excited. I liked this man. Like after that conversation, I decided I was all in. I crocheted him a fucking hat. Like I literally made this hat because he's an Eagles fan. I liked him, okay? I was posting like screenshots of our conversations and they were all like, wow, Kendra, I could tell that you really like this man, you're in love. And I did, I liked him. We had like a really good thing going. I felt very secure in it. And around this time is when I had like finally hit my 90 days of work. So I got my leave situation figured out, and he and I decided to like definitively make plans for meeting up and like taking that vacation that we had talked about. He lives in California and I live in Virginia. He's a big Eagles fan. So we had talked about going to like wherever the Eagles were playing, and I don't know football, so they were gonna be in like Wisconsin or Michigan or something like that. So we were gonna take a trip out to there, and he was gonna fly me out. This was all gonna be on him. He had always said he's a provider, he's a protector, like he was gonna get me there basically. As time went on, we shifted gears a little bit and we decided that we were just gonna meet up in Philadelphia. He wanted to go to the official Eagles like merch store or whatever and get some merch, get me a jersey, and we were just gonna kind of explore the city, and he wanted to get me a really nice hotel room with him and go on our first like official proper date. And then on Sunday, I think the plan was for us to go to like an official Eagles bar, and we were gonna watch the game, and then he would fly back that same night. I live in Virginia, like I said, so it's only like a 2, maybe 3 hour drive for me. It's nothing to like get to Philly. So I was super down to do that. And I was really excited to like meet him. Looking back now, one kind of red flag kept popping up. This weekend is a long weekend. So Monday is both Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Inauguration Day. Everyone, for the most part, is off work on Monday. Flights for him to come in on a Friday and leave on Sunday were like, at minimum, for even fucking Spirit Airlines, $800, like $1,000. It's expensive. That on top of like the hotel costs, the cost of our dates, he wanted to buy me a dress and just overall splash out, like get a rental car, like all the things that he would have to spend money on. I felt bad. Like I have no problem with men spending their money, but I just felt bad. It was going to be a very like overly expensive weekend, whereas he could either come to Virginia or we could push it back a week and it would be like half the cost. I'm cheap, I'm frugal. I like to kind of look for things like that, and that's something that he would always make fun of me for, but I was just like, we could do this another time. I wanted him to get the best bang for his buck essentially. And also one other thing is we forgot that on Sunday, like when we would go to the bar, it would be in Eastern time. So he was so used to it being in was that Pacific time zone or whatever. So the game wouldn't start until 4 p.m. He would be used to it starting at 1 p.m. He would watch it until like maybe 3 or 4 and then be able to catch a flight back home. He wouldn't be able to catch a flight until like 7 at the earliest. So that was just going to be a very, very long day of travel. So I was like, why don't you just go back home on Monday? Like you're off work, I think. It's just gonna be so much easier. Like, yeah, it's another night at the hotel, but still, like, just go back Monday. And he was very, like, I don't know how to explain it. He was very, like, weird about deciding to leave on Monday. And he kind of gave me like non-answers until finally he was very firmly like, no, I'm going back on Sunday. So I was like, okay, whatever. But keep that in mind. He wanted to go back on Sunday, not Monday. Monday is January 20th. So we're planning this trip and like we're getting super excited. I was really excited to meet him. And then the California fires happen. He has to evacuate to a friend's house. And like, I know like this was never about me, but I can't tell you how terrified I was for him. Like, I was stressed, I was worried, I was terrified. We'd literally be on FaceTime and I would step out of the camera to cry because my heart hurt so bad for him. I really, really cared about him. Like, I knew he was physically safe, but what upset me, I'm not even crying for him, I'm crying for like, I'm just empathic. Like right now I wish the fire would have taken his house. I was so like sad in the moment just thinking of any psychological damage that would have happened to him. Like I knew he was physically safe. He had evacuated to a friend's house, but I was just hurt thinking of like depression, having to leave and like just dealing with the unknown and the uncertainty and all the things that like come with having to evacuate your house in a natural disaster or whatever. I was so sick over that for him. I literally thought that like this was gonna be my next man. Like I can't express enough how worried I was for him, how bad my heart hurt for him. And I was trying so hard not to be another stressor in that. I told him like, text me when you can. Like I was really trying to just kind of give him the space that he needed to get the things done that he needed to get done. I really just wanted to be there for for him and like do anything that I could to help him from literally across the whole country. So I was trying to not overwhelm him and be as clingy as I normally am. And to my surprise, he was actually very communicative. Like the amount of times that we FaceTimed and texted really didn't decrease. A little bit, but like not by much. He was at one place and then I think like the next night he had to end up evacuating again. This evacuation is where things became like a little bit suspicious to me. Like I said before, when we had that one like conversation and argument and after we made up, I decided to completely trust him. Like I gave him my heart, I was in it. But when he evacuated to this friend's house, something was just a little off to me. He got real non-binary when he was talking about like the people that were there. And I thought that it was just because he knows that like I'm a crash out and that I wasn't gonna be mad if he was like in a house with a bunch of women. Like you are literally trying to run for your life. Like I'm not mad about that. But we'd be on FaceTime and he'd be like, they are gonna make us a taco bar or something tonight, or they are going to do this today. So like he got real non-binary about it, but he was still being very communicative. We were still FaceTiming pretty much the normal amount. I remember we were talking and he said something about like how he was just kind of depressed and stressed, and I was like, can you just FaceTime me? Like I was literally like crying this day over him, and I was like, can you just FaceTime me? I just want to make sure you're good. I want to hear your voice. And he said, yes, I'll step out. And I think like that was an immediate red flag to me. I was like, why do you have to step out when I've literally been on FaceTime with you and your friends? Like I've FaceTimed you from your house. Like why would you have to step out? But I let it go and I placed the order, and it was a 7-Eleven order. He FaceTimed me the entire walk to the 7-Eleven and the entire way back too. And I remember he got to like the front door and then he kind of abruptly hung up, and he texted me saying like, sorry, I cut you off there. And I was like, I just said thank you for calling. I let it go. It was like the first day after he had to evacuate again, and any suspicions that I had were kind of like calmed by the fact that for the next couple days, like we FaceTimed, we called, texted, whatever, mostly from his car. But like he had said that he didn't feel useful in the house, so he was trying to just kind of get out. So that was kind of his excuse for that. I don't think he had to go into work, but he had to go, or he didn't have to. He decided to go to this place called Cyber City. It's like a little gaming place in like the LA area, I guess. It was just his little solace, like his home away from home, his way to kind of get out of the house and have fun, not be in the way, which is what he kept saying he felt like he was. And he had also said that like he hadn't been eating. He was like, I just haven't been thinking about it. He had been stressed, he had been busy, whatever. So I know that like when you're not taking care of your body, like your mental's gonna suffer, and his mental already was suffering. So I just wanted to do my part as a good girl would and make sure that he was fed. So I Uber Eats him some food to like the Cyber City place. This was like not 2 days in a row, but like I did it twice at least, in addition to the other order that I got him. I literally like hung out with him on FaceTime after I ordered it, watched it pull up and him get the order and go inside to go eat it. And it was kind of like a rinse and repeat the next few days. That was kind of the routine, is he would just want to be out of the house. And I'm realizing now that's because his girlfriend was there with him, but we talked in FaceTime like normal. We talked about details of our trip. It was kind of in the air because I was really I really didn't want him to come, sort of. I wanted to see him and I did want him to come, but I didn't want him to like not be there mentally. I didn't want the whole LA fires thing looming over him while he was there and him to not be able to like fully be present with me, basically. So I was like, don't feel bad if you have to cancel or postpone. Like it's absolutely fine. And I low-key wanted him to cancel too. Just because I was like, I want you to have time to kind of get things together. We didn't know about the status of his apartment, if it was still standing or not. I just didn't want all of that looming over him. And like I said, I had just been so worried about him. You know, eventually he confirmed that like he wanted this trip to move forward. So I got on board, and I think that was this last Saturday. And because I was on board, I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and book all my appointments. I booked my nails, booked like everything I needed to book. And I was also like, let me go ahead and get the deep dive out of the way. I'm crazy. Like I said, I'm a crash out. I always do a deep dive on like all the men I date, usually within like minutes of meeting them. But for whatever reason, I decided to be just trusting with him this time, and I didn't do the usual deep dive that I normally do. I did like a little bit of a dive on him, but like nowhere near as deep as I normally do. But I was like, yeah, for my own safety, I'm just gonna go ahead and look into him. basically. I was like, I'm not gonna traveling to a city to meet a man in general is crazy anyway. Doing that without having like done your proper research on him, nuts. So yeah, I did. He was at the Cyber City place on like Wilson Boulevard in LA or whatever. And I had just gotten him Chinese food, so I could make sure that he was fed. And then I knew he was kind of there just like gaming for a little bit, and he was occupied. So I decided to search his name on Twitter. Nothing crazy came up, actually. The only thing I kept noticing was that in his mentions, the same page of a girl kept popping up, and I was like, that's so annoying. I was like, who is this bitch? Basically, like, is this some like friend that he has out there who's just a little too involved? So I kept scrolling. I was trying to ignore it, but she just kept popping up. What the fuck? So I clicked on her page and started to scroll a little bit just to see like who she was. She was a massive influencer. I think she has like 150K on Instagram and like 30K on 150K on Twitter and like 30K on Instagram. And he's crazy as fuck for that alone. But anyway, I was scrolling through her tweets and I just saw a lot of things that were very coincidental. I saw this picture that she took of like, I think it was like the sky. The sky was black because of like obviously the fires in LA. And she was like, we're evacuating now. Like the sky looks crazy, basically was her caption. And in her photo, I could tell that she was sitting passenger in a Tesla, and he drives a Tesla. And I was like, huh, okay, maybe they're roommates, but noted. And a few more tweets, she tweeted about seeing Nosferatu and Wicked, and those were two movies that he had recently gone to see and that like we talked about after. He was like big into critiquing movies, and I saw that she saw them. So I went back in our text and I saw that she saw them on the same days that he saw them. And I was like, huh, noted. I scrolled further and I saw a tweet that she put out that said like, dating a 6'3" gym rat is all fun and games until they like get hungry because they eat so fucking much. And I was like, huh, that's so weird because I too am dating a 6'3" gym rat who likes to eat a lot. That's so weird. Noted. And then what did it for me is she posted a picture of his dog and I lost it. I lost it. I was like, oh my God. I knew back from like the very first tweet in the Tesla, I knew then, but the dog tweet took me out. Fuck. And so from there, I kept kind of like manically scrolling through her media tab and I found a picture of them together. I was like, God damn it. And then I went to her Instagram and I found more of them together. I think the second I found like pictures of them together on Instagram, I immediately decided to message her, and I'm really glad that I did because I think I would have lost my nerve had I not been. I was crashing out. I posted on my close friend story and I literally was like, I'm finding out in real time that this man has a girlfriend and I think they live together. She, like I said, she's a big influencer. She has a lot of followers, so I messaged one of our mutual friends and I was like, can you please message her and tell her to message me back right now? And luckily our mutual friend did. She ended up seeing my message and she responded to me. I told her everything and I said, are you dating Montez? And she said, yeah. And I said, are you guys dating exclusively? And she said, yeah. Our 5-year anniversary is actually on Monday the 20th. And if you think back to when I said that he was super weird about like maintaining that he went home on January 19th, I think I now know why. I think it's because his 5-year anniversary was the next day on January the 20th and he was planning to spend that fucking weekend beforehand with me in Philly. But anyway, I continue telling her everything that we had been talking super heavily and how I thought we had a future together and all these things. She asked a few questions and I sent her a bunch of screenshots, whatever. She asked me if I would allow her to confront him first, and I was like, absolutely, like I'm never speaking to that man again. She and I kept messaging back and forth and I was trying to give her kind of whatever proof I had via screenshots, and she was saying that like it's so crazy how people live a double life. And I was like, yeah, it really is insane. Like he's not the person that I thought he was. And I was like, I'm so sorry for this timing because I knew that she was currently evacuated from her home. And I was like, you know, I hope that you make the choice that's right for you, but you deserve so much more than this man has to offer you. And she said thank you, and I was like, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any more questions. I think that she ended up texting him like in that moment saying, we need to talk, and he was still at the Cyber City like gaming place at the time. I know that the second that she texted him, he ended up FaceTiming me. I think he called like maybe 2 or 3 times, and I ended up declining all the calls. So he texted me a question mark, and I sent a screenshot to her, and I was like, he's FaceTiming me right now trying to get in contact. I know that he got home like very shortly after that, and I think that she ended up confronting him then. She messaged me like very shortly after, and he basically denied everything. And he said that he was just trying to use me for sex, that he never cared about me, he didn't want to be with me, he was denying all the allegations and whatever. But she messaged me saying like, he just left again, and let me know if he reaches out to you. And right when I got her message saying that, he texted me just the word wow. So I texted her, or I messaged her back, and I told her that. I will say that like the entire time that she and I were messaging, she seemed a little bit in shock, but she was very, very calm. Like, simply put, she wasn't mad enough for me. I didn't know if that's because she was processing it or if she's used to this, but it didn't seem like it was the first time that he had done this, and it also didn't seem like she was leaving. And from what I've seen after, I think it's confirmed. I think she's staying with that man. And everyone makes a choice that's right for them in their life, and that's what I told her to do too. And maybe she's making moves behind the scenes that I don't know about. Like I said, they're currently displaced from the fires together, and maybe she's just kind of planning, but I'm trying very, very hard not to judge. But I will say that, like, girl, if you stay with that man, that's embarrassing as fuck. That man does not care about you in the way that he might have led you to believe, and you are doing yourself a disservice by continuing to breathe the same air as that man. He is a fucked up liar with mommy and daddy issues that will never be resolved. He's going to continue to spread his damage to people who don't deserve it, and you are enabling him to do so if you stay. And I really don't intend to be rude. Like I said, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I can't stand when women stay and when they allow men like that to continue to be destructive and harmful. I can't stand it. Time spent is not enough of a reason to stay. He didn't care about losing you, nor does he now that he's been caught. As much as he acts like he does now, he doesn't give a fuck, and he's likely been doing what he did with me with tens of other women across the country. With how quick he was to talk about booking a flight for me and flying me out. I know he's doing this with other girls. The same thoughtful things that I saw him doing for you when I was scrolling through your media tab, he was talking about doing with me. He doesn't care about you. He damn near referred to you as his mate. He said he has like a cleaning service that comes, and that's why his apartment stays so put together. He's only fighting for you because he is so used to the